legislative session. Um, I know things are well underway. I was in Montgomery earlier for the EDAA conference earlier this week and heard lots of buzz, read a lot that was going on. So we are so excited through the partnership to have, today we have Caroline, and we are going to be rotating. Each week, we're going to have a different representative from BCA to share with us, which I think is awesome. It gives us a chance to get to know each of you a little bit better as well. So that's exciting to me, Caroline, that we are going to have that opportunity to rotate. So, Caroline, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you give us some updates.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. And I'll just echo your comments. I think it's super exciting for all of us to be able to talk with you all. Definitely fun to get to know all of you and chat through this method here. So just wanted to kind of jump into a little update from the last 2 weeks of session and give you all kind of the things that we've been focusing on at BCA with our advocacy efforts. So this past week, we completed a shortened 2-day week, obviously because of the winter weather. So I hope all of you were safe and stayed warm. So we completed legislative days 7 and 8. They were in on Tuesday and Thursday with committee meetings on Wednesday. And we will expect the same schedule for next week. They'll do another 2-day week next week, and then the following week they will go back to a 3-day week. So last week, I know on our last call 2 weeks ago, we talked about the workforce and CTE package that Speaker Ledbetter is prioritizing this session. So last week, he hosted a roundtable discussion focusing on this CTE and workforce legislation. He got together Workforce Secretary Greg Reed, industry leaders, and some legislative leaders as well to discuss the topic and to discuss this priority. And really, the conversation focused on the need to emphasize skills training at an earlier age and also the necessity of teaching soft skills that are required in the workplace. The speaker plans to introduce legislation on this in the coming weeks, and I know that there are several more discussions that are prepared to take place over the next few weeks. And we are obviously remaining engaged on that conversation there and providing input as needed. So we'll keep y'all updated once that legislative package drops and give y'all more details on the bills that are included there. A budget update. I just wanted to flag the general fund budget hearing was moved because of the weather. It was originally scheduled for Monday. Obviously, they needed to move that with the winter weather. So the budget hearing for the general fund was held yesterday. That was to review Governor Kay Ivey's proposal for the general fund for fiscal year 2027. I believe there's roughly $28 million in proposed cuts to the general fund this year from Governor Ivey. And she's framing it as a responsible stewardship budget and obviously an investment in core services, especially things like public safety. So more to come on that, and there will be an education budget hearing on Monday, February 2nd. And I believe that in the Education Trust Fund, there's a proposed $750 million increase there. So a cut to the general fund, but obviously a substantial increase to the Education Trust Fund. So obviously it's, still early in the session and it's an election year, so you're not seeing too many hot topics debated right now, but I do feel like there are several, and Scott can attest to this too, but several just random topics and issues that are popping up, and we keep saying it feels like we're in the whack-a-mole phase of the session. So they filed nearly 600 bills already, which is a lot. So our team has been reviewing those each week, every day, as there are new bills introduced. We're monitoring a wide range of policy areas. We're not really just focused on, one or two things like we are typically. We're kind of all over the place and all over the board. So we're keeping an eye on a lot of different things and tracking a lot of different topics. Some of those things that have been moving through the process that I did want to highlight for you all. HB 181 by Rep. Marks. That is the bill that's dealing with dredged materials in coastal areas. I know we spoke a little bit about that on our last call. It was moving through the committee process, I believe, when we spoke. And so now it has passed the House. They added a substitute to the bill. So when it was first introduced, I believe there was some negotiation going on between some stakeholders, the Port Authority and some other groups, but they all came to a compromise on some of the issues that they were working through. And so they did pass that bill out of the House this past Tuesday. So that will now go to the Senate for consideration. Another big bill that a lot of people have been watching is the App Store Accountability Act. And this bill aims to give parents more control over their children's app use. So that bill passed the House this week, and we're anticipating to see that come up in the Senate next week. That might be a topic that we could see some long debate on the Senate floor. So we're anticipating that this coming week, and we will keep you all posted on that bill as it probably passes, but with a lot of discussion. Another one I know that we talked about that you all were pretty concerned with as well as us at BCA was SB 91 by Senator Tim Melson. Since we last spoke, the status of that bill has not changed and is the same. We have not seen any movement on that bill. It has not been taken up in a committee. I know that we've heard from several economic development groups across the state, and I know from many of you that it would just be detrimental to our economic development groups in all of our communities. And so we're continuing to monitor that bill. Hopefully, we won't really see any movement on it. I don't know if any of you on the call have an update there, anything different than what we've heard, but I know that we've spoken to Sam and then a few others of you who are watching that. So we'll definitely continue to watch that closely and keep you all posted there. Another bill that we worked on a lot this week, and I just wanted to flag for you all, is SB 71 by Senator Donnie Chasteen. This bill deals with environmental rules and regulations, and it essentially says that Alabama cannot impose environmental regulations that are stricter than federal regulations, and that those rules and regulations need to be based off of actual science and actual facts and data as opposed to theories or politics. So we really see this as a pro-business, common sense bill. It keeps Alabama competitive by preventing overregulation. It ensures that our environmental rules are science-based and not political. And it would allow President Trump to set that national baseline, while also keeping our state prepared if there was a future administration change, which obviously is inevitable, and that administration might raise that baseline. So we see it as protecting jobs, investment, and economic competitiveness. It preserves emergency authority, which is great, and it doesn't weaken our environmental protections. So this is currently in the Senate, passed out of committee, I think, 2 weeks ago, but forgive me, it might have been this week. I feel like this week was very long. So we expect to see that likely in the Senate next week, and we'll keep you all posted on that as well. Another initiative that we haven't seen any legislation yet this session, but it was created and passed last session, if you all recall, is the Alabama Rural Roadmap. We've been working closely at BCA with the legislature on implementing the Rural Roadmap. It was an initiative that was created last year to strengthen rural Alabama through a legislative framework. And so state leaders have spent, I want to say, probably since last session, so basically the last 8 to 12 months, engaging local governments, industry leaders, and subject matter experts to create kind of a framework to help strengthen our communities in rural Alabama. So the first report was submitted to the legislature this past week, kind of on their key findings and in areas where they need to strengthen and things that we need to work on and kind of prioritizing what needs to come first. So some encouraging signs from that report is, the need for coordinated state leadership, targeted and flexible resources, and regional strategies that, are customized to help each of these areas, as obviously we know not every rural community is the same and they all have different needs and things like that. And so regional strategies that focus on that uniqueness for all of those communities, but also focus on shared statewide goals. So, really just the overall goal with this road roadmap is to make sure that we have thriving rural communities that are attracting businesses, but also retaining those businesses. And so, this program is going to help obviously with things that we're doing at the state level, but even just thinking down to smaller things for rural communities like um, increasing or strengthening, our infrastructure in the sense of like maybe a turn lane in a community could help that community. Just kind of smaller things I think that we don't really think on a day-to-day basis at the statewide level because we're thinking of the bigger picture. But this is going to help with those smaller projects that need attention in rural communities. Um, I'm trying to think of anything else. And Scott, if you think of anything that I've left off, feel free to throw it out. But these are really the big things that we've been working on over the last 2 weeks since we spoke with y'all, and the things that have gained some traction moving through the committee process and debate on the floor, and the things that we expect to come up next week. Um, so if I really don't have anything else on my list to go over, but if there are any questions, I'm happy to try and answer those. Or Scott, if there's anything you think I left off or anything maybe political you want to touch on, because I know we gave some political updates last time and there might have been a few news stories since then that might be entertaining to touch on.
Well, I only see four people from Decatur, Morgan County area, so they might have heard something political happen lately up there. Now I'll hit a few things just since we last talked. So qualifying day was a week ago, last Friday. So all the races are, for the most part, set. Certainly, there will be no new additions. Individuals have until I think 5 p.m. today to file challenges to disqualify people off the ballots. And there was a story this morning about John Wall maybe has a challenge against his residency issues. I think Senator Tuberville is facing one from his opponent, and various challenges throughout the legislature going on. But as of today, in the Senate, there are 9 Republican primaries and 1 Democrat primary, with 1 open seat that'll be Republican. In the House, you're looking at 12 Republican primaries and 12 Democrat primaries, and then 8 open seats, 6 of which will be Republican, and 2 there'll be Democrat seats in the House. Uh, Looking at the U.S. Senate, there are 7 people that have filed to run for Senate. The favorite at this point is Mo Brooks, having received the president's endorsement in that race. Not only that, but Club for Growth will be infusing significant cash into that race. So right now, I think he's probably polling around 11 or 12% statewide, but I'll look for those numbers to go up in the coming weeks and months. 8 folks are running for lieutenant governor. You've heard of, at this point, Rick Pate and Wes Allen and John Wall and maybe a Nicole Wadsworth in there. But 5 other folks have filed to run on that. Probably will go to a runoff. John Wall's situation is in flux, I guess, as they figure out these challenges. But he has the president's endorsement. I think that plays differently than it does with a statewide elected official. Just as a party chieftain, you don't have as much recognition throughout the state outside of just your folks in that party. And those folks are loyal to the public servants that they've supported in the past. So that'll be an interesting one to watch. I don't think the president's endorsement goes as far there, just because people don't know who John Wall is. Referenced the activity in North Alabama with Mo Brooks having announced his run for House seat. At BCA, we are very supportive of James Lomax, who holds that seat, and will be significantly involved in that race in making sure that James comes back. But Mo Brooks having made another political run was one that raised eyebrows around the state last week. But yeah, so party challenges due by 5 today. Those have to be resolved by February 26th. That's when state parties have to deliver their list of candidates for ballots to the Secretary of State for printing. So you know, we'll know who has challenges, this evening, but those won't be resolved for probably 3 weeks or so. But Caroline, that's it for me on political update.
Awesome. Well, are there any questions or comments or anything that y'all have seen moving through the legislature that we haven't discussed that you all are watching or concerned about?
Hey,
Caroline,
Crystal, go ahead.
I'm sorry, forgive me. You may have mentioned this before I jumped on. Did you, in today's paper, Senator Orr has brought back his bill on government financial transparency and corruption. Are you hearing anything about that at all?
I haven't had any discussions on that. I know there were several bills that we saw from Senator Orr this past week filed in the last 2 weeks that we were watching. So that might be on our list, but I haven't heard anything specifically on that bill, but we'll keep an eye on it for sure. I know you said he brought that back. That's one that he's had in the past.
I believe,
Maybe that
yeah,
just didn't move all the way through.
yeah.
So we'll definitely keep an eye on that one. Do you know the bill number by chance?
It is.
Don't go out of your way to find it if you don't. We can
I'll
find
find
it.
it. You can keep
Okay.
talking. I'll find it here
No,
for
that's
you.
good. Yeah. There are some, and this is I guess Senator Orr does have one of these. I forgot to mention there are a handful of AI related bills that are introduced in the House and the Senate. This session we saw it kind of pop up last session, but we really have seen several pop up this session relating to AI and regulations there. And so we're really watching those because one, most of them create a new private right of action, obviously, which you all know that we are fundamentally opposed to at BCA. So we're watching those, but also because we don't want to see the state kind of get ahead of President Trump or DC in setting AI regulation policy. President Trump has actually released an executive order, I believe a few weeks ago, or maybe just a week ago, relating to AI policy and the need for kind of a national AI framework, a cohesive AI framework on AI regulations. And they've created a task force within the Department of Justice where they're reviewing state AI regulations and rules. And so, if they believe that someone's kind of going out a little further than they should be, then I think that there are going to be some penalties for those states. And part of those penalties we saw is, clawing back some funding. And I believe broadband funding is a part of that, which obviously we know how hard we've worked on broadband here in the state and how important it is and how desperately needed it is across our state. So things like that, we're just keeping an eye on and hoping maybe that the state legislature will kind of take a pause and look a little deeper into this before trying to get out ahead of everyone, just to make sure that we're setting the right kind of rules and regulations because we don't want it obviously to be too overregulated, especially on such a newer topic here. So we're watching those very, very closely. I think one of those bills, I think it's HB 327 by Ben Robbins, is up in committee next week. But hopefully, I think we might be able to kind of slow roll those bills moving through the House and Senate. Anyone else?
Can you
Caroline, I
talk
put
a little
that
bit more?
information. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit more on the rural roadmap and how we can make sure that our rural areas have a seat on the bus with that?
Yeah. So I will say we haven't really been pulled into it very much yet. I think they're still in the initial process of just getting some groups together, local mayors or things like that, and local EDOs and all of those things together just to kind of hear specific issues from different communities across the state and how, we can try and be better at not creating one umbrella way to kind of fix everyone's issues or help bring attention to everyone's issues, but figuring out how to tailor solutions for each individual community. So we haven't been pulled in yet per se, but I do know that this is going to be a very long process. It's not something that they're going to have a quick solution or quick fix for. So I believe honestly, it's probably going to take a few years for them to kind of work through all of this. and they're just kind of in the information collecting phase right now. But as we get pulled into it, we'll be happy to keep y'all abreast, obviously, very closely on everything that we're working on, and we'll come to you guys, obviously, when they ask us for input, and we'll make sure that we're able to collect information and concerns and questions from y'all and take that to the legislature as well.
And Caroline, I'll add a little color on that,
Yeah.
just referencing some of what I heard the pro tem talking about at an event earlier this week.
Oh,
Uh,
great.
so he was, talking to a group about it and said, when not all rural areas are created the same. They're, and I think there's 9 different ways rural is defined in state law
Hmm.
right now. So trying to find a way, how do we describe rural? It might be tiers, whether
Hmm.
that's population density or having to do with agricultural density, whatever it might be in an area. He referenced that in not for some communities, getting a Dollar General is as significant as for other communities getting an Airbus. And so really trying to, develop, as Caroline said, those areas appropriately, and not swinging for the fences on everything, but developing, at scale. So it's an interesting process, and like I said, it's going to take a while to get through all the intricacies of it. I think it's over the next quadrennium, but it's something that's very important to the pro tem, and I thought it was interesting just kind of hearing him articulate it that way, in the different tiers and how different communities are impacted by economic development.
And Laura, I'd be happy to share the legislative report, the findings that they put together this week, and share it with you all so that you all can review it. And if there's any feedback that you have, you can always email it to us or call us, and we'd be happy to make a note of it.
Yeah, I was going to share at the EDAA conference, they gave a report on this. Uh, and there is, from the committees that they have formed so far, there's an initial report they were going to be able to release this week. And so I think that must be what you're referring to as well, Caroline.
Yes. Yes,
But
we just got it this week, so.
One of the most interesting, because we in Sylacauga, we're not traditionally defined rural, but that was one of the biggest, that was the first topic that came up in this discussion, was that definition of rural and what those tiers are going to look like or could potentially look like. So that was encouraging, and it was a great discussion. So I'm anxious to see the initial report and watch the progress as this moves forward.
Agreed. Anyone else?
Okay. Well, Scott and Carolyn, thank you so much for these updates. It's so important for us to hear through the partnership where we stand and keeping us abreast of what's happening and specifically how it affects each of our areas and then as a whole. I do appreciate you taking the time and sharing with us every other week, not each week, but every other week. I just have a few announcements to share with everybody before we conclude. We are so excited about next week, Chamber Day at the Capitol. And I just think everyone's support is just phenomenal. We are sold out, and this is our second year. This is exciting for us. We're sold out, pushing the max. So it's going to be a great day next Wednesday. If you are attending, you should have received a detailed email earlier this week that contains all the information that you'll need to know about Wednesday. If you didn't get that email, please let Carla know so she can send it to you. And it's important that you share that with everybody. Make sure that everybody attending on behalf of your organization received it. And if not, please share that information with them. I know a couple of the people I just registered under my email, so I've got to make sure I share that. But it's got details for the entire day, specifically details about parking, because that's always such an issue. And we do have limited parking. So if you can carpool amongst your group attending, that's a good idea. So think about that as you're putting together your travel plans. But do make sure you do have access to that email with all of the details. A few other things. Next Friday, our next Friday update will be February the 13th. So Mark Colson will be with us that day, sharing issues they are working on for their industry that can relate to our communities as well. The deadline for all scholarships is next Friday, February the 6th, and this includes scholarships for ELC in Huntsville, which we're so excited about, IOM state partner scholarships, as well as IOM scholarships through Institute. So just if you're making plans for you or someone from your team to attend, please keep that scholarship date in mind, next Friday the 6th. The room block is open for ELC in Huntsville. And you don't want to miss ELC in Huntsville. We're excited. We got an announcement coming soon about our keynote speaker, and I can't wait. I can't wait personally, and I can't wait to share it with you all. And PDC was just announced. It will be September the 28th through the 30th in Daphne. And again, we haven't been in Daphne previously, so we're real excited about that. Casey Gay and her team are working hard to get some plans underway and have been instrumental in helping us get that solidified for Daphne. So that's going to be exciting in the fall for PDC. So any questions for me or Meredith before we hop off? Okay,
Laura,
again,
do you mind sharing your email address just so I can make sure that I get this report over to y'all?
I sure will. I will put it in the chat right now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Let me do that. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I think that's everything. And I hope everybody stays warm, has a great weekend, and maybe you're traveling somewhere tropical and can escape our frigid temperatures here. I'm not. I'm here. So that's okay, though. But again, thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing those of you that are going to be at Chamber Day next Wednesday. See you all later.
Bye. Have a good one.